I pulled out the garage cook chair, and it's time to do a little bit of an introduction to the fleet before we get too deep into individual projects. So I'm going to do this in order of oldest bike to newest bike in terms of manufacturer year. Probably going to get lots of details wrong, so go easy in the comments, but a lot of these have come to me at random times and I have a terrible memory, so yeah, let's get into it. Okay, first cab off the rank, we have the Lockdown Special. That is a 1993 Avanti Illusion. It was originally a touring bike. It didn't look like this, it looked like this. But as you can see, it has been stripped back to a raw steel finish. It has then been treated with linseed oil. I've subsequently then coated it in clear coat. It is my gravel bike. It's done events of 135, 140 kilometers. It is super comfortable. It still runs the original Shimano CX400 group set, you can see there, but it does now run, it's got some carbon gravel bars from AliExpress, it's got some Choice Pimpinane Easy bar tape, and it's got Micro New or 7 shifters because it obviously runs a 3x7 because it's 1993. It's got an impossibly narrow seat tube, so finding seat posts are really difficult. It has a titanium Sella Italia Transam, and it has my all-time favorite Crank Brothers candy pedals, and it has the very lovely Edwin Bow segmented fork in Japanese steel in the raw finish, and of course it has some purple Gravel King SKs. Some other choice bits that I really love: it's got purple floating rotors, and it has the Zoom hybrid hydraulic disc brakes. Lovely bike, big fan. I've ridden it extensively over the years. I do want to change up some stuff going forward because the group set is starting to be pushed to its absolute limits, and as you can tell by the mock-up, I also want to put a rear disc tab on it, but the tubing is super skinny, so it's going to need some reinforcement before that becomes viable. Right, next bike. Okay, and next up we have, also from 1993 to the best of my knowledge, we have the Cannondale Delta V700. I refer to her as Ugly Betty because it looks like someone just went to town with a slide ruler when designing these, and it's got the weird Cannondale dropouts, and the whole thing's very weird. I picked this up from a garbage man who saw it, and he was an ex-BMXer and he knew it must have been valuable to someone, so he picked it up. Head shock works. It's got the even more ugly raked fork head shock. It has a 3x7 LX group set, which is still there and pretty much all original. It does have a pair of Surly corner bars. I was trying a thing, the thing didn't work. This stem I actually had to get very kindly donated from somebody on Instagram from the Netherlands because my stem didn't have a faceplate on it. Surly corner bars, they're cool and everything if you're into that sort of thing, but they don't really work for this build, so probably trying to change this one up again. I also tried out putting a suspension seat post on it. That also didn't work. I have to say I'm not a massive fan of this bike. It just doesn't really do it for me, and the Schwalbe Billy Bonkers tires are truly sent here from hell. Right, next bike. And next, I think this is also a 1993, 1994 sort of time. It is a Diamondback Sorrento. It comes with the Australian trademark Redback Spider, which I believe is an aftermarket upgrade. It's true temper chromo tubing. I got this for $20, I want to say, and it was supposed to be my cheap bike build back in February of 2024. I went so far as to actually putting, which isn't within eyesight, a Zip 404 Firecrest front wheel on it. So if you saw that kicking around, that was this bike. Things that are annoying about this bike: it has a 1-inch steerer tube, but it actually also has a relatively long head tube, so finding a fork to fit it is a little bit tricky, although I do have one, so I just need to get the thumb out and actually build it up. Not sure what I'm going to use it for. It's kind of tatty, but it's orange, so it's also kind of cool, and you can see by the level of decrepitness there, we've got a mix and match chainring bolts, including one missing. Right, next bike. Now this next one is something special and very dear to my heart. It is the 1996 Specialized Rockhopper. It's steel, it's Ritchie titanium tubing. You can see a little Ritchie decal in there, and this is my bikepacking bike of choice. You can see it's been heavily fettled with, so I'll give you a little bit of a brief rundown of all that has happened to this one. Firstly, it has some very important stickers to show my general affinities across internet land. It is got a Edwin bow segmented fork, again Japanese steel, again in raw finish, but it also has the very lovely Edwin bow coffee rack, also in raw steel finish. It has a pair of Noiret bars, so you got a little bit of a mustache vibe going on there. It's got the largest array of headset spacers in different colors that you ever did see. Yep, quite a mix and match there, as well as this kind of real fever dream stem, and also a little bit of cheeky stem cap. Brook saddle still only breaking in at this point and still causing a bit of punish. I've also drilled out the frame to put in a cargo cage. This one I'm actually quite proud of, because cargo cages are typically relatively expensive. This is a Bluetooth speaker mount off AliExpress. It costs a princely sum of $7 Australian. It also has an AliExpress special crank. It's got some BMX Eclat pedals. It has an Altus mech running a 50 tooth out the rear on just one knockoff wolf tooth. And wheels wise, these are XT hubs, can't remember exactly what designation, laced to ride rims that I got in from the Netherlands, and the always eye-catching Vans Colt BMX tires, but in 26. Now, I don't ride these tires when we're out bikepacking, but they are just too cool for school, so they've got to be used when we're riding around the streets. Again, it has the Zoom X-Tech, I think, I forget the brand now, hybrid hydraulic disc brake, and it's got some Diore levers. It's obviously got an Altus shifter. Altus, don't sleep on it, it's amazing, and it costs next to nothing. And yes, some giant lock-on grips. This bike is amazing, I love it to bits. It's got a frame bag, it holds everything, it never complains, it's just fantastic, a beauty. Next, your eyes do not deceive you. It is a 1996 Klein Pulse Comp. I remember finding this bike and just being so excited, because I always wanted a Klein growing up and I could never afford one. It is absolutely beautiful. It's not the most expensive Klein, nor was it back in 96, but it has the impossibly thin Klein aluminium tubing. It is made in the USA. I think we all know who this guy is. If you know, you know. What else has it got? It's got SID dual airs. They're just absolutely amazing. They did not come on this standard, by the way. And it's been quite fettled with as well. It's got, again, newer XT V-brakes of the 9-speed era. But my thing with this bike was I wanted to try and get an aluminium hardtail without going to too extreme lengths down to sub 10 kilo in its current guise, with carbon bars, very lightweight grips, carbon seat posts, but a flight titanium, not the lightest saddle in the world. It weighs in at 10.5 kilo. It is a 1x9. You can see an XT rear mech on there. Funny thing with this one is I went to great extents to find cheap yet really light Innova CrossFit tires. They're extremely thin, and what I found was I built up the XT wheels you just saw on the Rockhopper, and I laced new rims, yada yada yada, and it came to more than the original wheels. So it originally has these Swami rims. It's got an LX hub on the rear, and very importantly, it has a System 3 hub on the front. And to be honest, these wheels, when you have them off the bike, are very light. I absolutely love this bike. A couple of plans I do have for it to just get the weight down a little bit lower is going to swap out the tubes for the super lightweight kind of ride now style. These things are just unbelievable. They weigh like 16 grams. And one of the other choice parts I have on it are the Light Pro Ultimate levers. These brake levers weigh 32 grams a piece. They are terrifying. In fact, they're so proud of their weight, they actually have it printed on them. Terrifying brakes. They work, but I mean, they are not longed for this world. Even the bolts are minute that are on it. And yeah, a couple other things to do with it. I'm going to get a lighter stem, and I'm going to maybe put on a lighter crankset. I do have a nice white FSA over there, and I'm going to get a 3D printed carbon saddle for it as well. So yeah, lovely Klein. Next bike, we move into the year of 1997, I believe. This extremely tatty Specialized Rockhopper is the year after the blue steel one that you just saw, but this one is A1 aluminium, the other one is steel. This I actually bought with a view to making it my new bikepacking bike. You can see someone decided I'll paint a house and just leave my bike next to the house. It's really tatty. It's a bit of fun, but I drilled it out and I also mounted a cargo cage here because for a moment I thought this would be my bikepacking bike of choice, but simply I prefer riding steel bikes. It's got a pair of RockShox Recons on it, and somebody who wasn't me really helpfully decided they wanted to shed more weight and thought, oh, you know what, I'll put a mud guard through there, so I'll just drill a hole in the brace. What could that possibly be useful for? It just have, like, you know, nice old Specialized bits. I think it cost me a grand total of about $90 or something like that, and it's got a smiley face on it from Second Life Bikes. Not a lot to say about this one. I owned it really briefly before it got resigned to the storage room. So on to the next bike. Okay, next we have something truly special. This is my DMR Trail Star. It's a year 99 or 2000, I can't remember exactly which, but I've owned it since 2000, June 2000 in fact. I've owned it since then, and when I moved to Australia, it was one of the first things that came with me. It is currently in a state of disrepair, as you can see. It typically lives alongside those Marzocchi Shiver single clamps. I really need to get this thing built up. I love this bike to pieces. I used to race a little bit of downhill on this. It is not a downhill bike, obviously. I didn't have the money for a downhill bike. This thing is just a beast, and it DMRs. If you know, you know. What more can I say about it? That's a bike for life. So this next one's a little bit more illegible. This is a similar era, 2000, 99, maybe 2001, DMR Sidekick. I know some people out there will know exactly what year it is, but you can see there's the remnants of the DMR sticker, because once upon a time, this was white, and the previous owner told me that they sprayed over it in green because it got a bit yellowed in the sun. And they sprayed clean over everything, including the head tube badge. So I'm stripping it back at the moment. Every DMR deserves to be saved, and this one is no different. So big plans for it in terms of restoration, but in terms of riding it, I rode it one time in a skate park and I tore the meniscus in my knee. So I don't know if that's going to be for me. It normally is accompanied by the Splatter Pike 426s. They'll likely go back on it, but I've got a pretty cool idea for what I'm going to do with this once I fully strip off all the paint and it's covered in green dusty crap. Next, I'm going to stick with the theme of DMRs for a second because I have no idea as to what year this one is. This is another DMR Sidekick. This is gifted to me by a mate of mine. It's super ratty. It's like got spots of rust all over it. It does have nice things like DMR cranks, but unfortunately, as much as there is no crank bolt on this side, there's an extremely rounded crank bolt on the other side. Other things of note here, there's not really a lot to say, except that the seat post is galvanically welded into the frame with the fire of 1,000 suns, and someone has hacked away at the seat tube in a vain attempt to free it. So this one is going to be a longer term project, and I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I just think that DMRs deserve saving because they are beautiful bikes. And yeah, any suggestions, just let me know. Right, we're going to leave DMR town now. Next, right, I'm going to start making some wild stabs in the dark with regards to manufacturing year. I'm going to say this is a 2005 Yeti ASR. I really have no idea. I bought it as a frame set and no information came with it. It's got the aluminium front end and the carbon rear end with these kind of aluminium lugs, and I find it quite difficult to find information on it, but it's quite beautiful and it's all asymmetric and it's covered in dust. Other important things, it's got the original Yeti SDG saddle. I threw on a pair of Fox F100 forks, which are not the happiest. And it has a gold chainring on some cheap Chinese cranks. It also has an XT rear mech with gold jockey wheels. It has mismatch eared XT wheels, front and rear obviously. It's got gold floating rotors front and rear. It has new, I think 2022 DRA brakes front and rear that I bought with a voucher I had for a bike shop, and it's all very lovely. It has gold bars and it has this very funky cosmic stem that I got off AliExpress. It's a lovely bike. It climbs like a mountain goat. It reminds me of my old S-Works Epic from back in the day, which I had one when they were brand new, and yeah, very lovely. And not really much to say about it, but if you know any more information about these particular Yetis, please let me know because I am really struggling to find it. Right, Let's move out of 2005 and we'll head to 2006. I might have actually skipped one. All right, let's cover off something and I'll go 2006. Right, I've just done a cursory check and this is a 2005. We have a orange Patriot 66, but most importantly it has a Gary's Project Turbo Gary sticker on it, which is a critical piece of information. This is my downhill free ride bike, although I don't really ride downhill and I definitely don't ride free ride, but it's a beauty and I love it, and I love orange Patriots and I could never afford one when I'm growing up, so I got one when I could. The thing that people seem to get most obsessed about with this is that it has a pair of RockShox totems from the era 2005 or so they're pushing 20 years. To the best of my knowledge, they have never been serviced and they work flawlessly, so that's a big plus. It has DT 440 hubs, it has sun ring light equalizer rims, and it has these Michelins, which are not great, up front. Avid Elixir or brakes front and rear. It's got nuke proof bars, it's got a Husservelt stem, it's got some nice new squishy lock-on grips, 180mm Fox coil shock in the rear, MRP chain device, it has a dropper post, and it has a road saddle because I have used this for some all-day rides, and frankly it's just absolutely atrocious at it and I wouldn't recommend doing it, but pointed downhill and there's few things I would rather be on. It has a SRAM X9 rear mech and matching shifter, which makes it the second bike I have ever owned with SRAM gears. The other one being that DMR that you just saw a few moments ago, which also ran an X9. It works perfectly fine. I've just always been a Shimano person. Cool. What else to say about this? It's a beauty. I love it, and it's another bike for life, and I have so much fun on it, and it feels like I'm riding around on top of a Toyota Land Cruiser. Right, next we're going to go to the same year and same manufacturer. Again, correct me if I'm wrong on the year part, but I'm pretty certain on the manufacturer part. Next. Okay, so same year I believe, but definitely same manufacturer. 2005 orange 5. So correct me on the year if I'm wrong. I bought the frame a couple of weeks ago and I built it up there tail end of November, depending on when this goes out. It is a lot of fun. It's got a Diore 9-speed mech with 2 wolf tooths because one is never enough. It has Ride XE cranks from Raceface, and it has a anodized purple ring, and if any of you have seen any of the previous videos, you would know that pretty much all the parts bar 1 or 2 are off that, which is coming up next. That includes the bombers, so it has 140mm travel bombers. It also has some parts like these Nico Voulier signature fun bars and a very beautiful Renthal stem, which has come off of the green Sidekick that you would have seen earlier on. I've only ridden this once because I've just done the shakedown ride today, and yeah, I need to get more familiar with it. A couple of things were rattling, totally my fault. It does definitely need a dropper post, and then I think it'll be a much more capable bike, but it's a lot of fun. I just love these old oranges, and yeah, it just complements nicely with the Patriot because otherwise bikes get lonely. Oh, we got some big thunder outside. Roll on summer. Okay, saying I think with the same year, or we're going to 2006, but we're changing manufacturer. Next. I mean, there's not a huge amount to say about this one, given that it's about as bare a frame as you're going to get, but it is a Kona Kula. It is the Bog Standard 7005 aluminium frame. It's still quite light. I just love this era of Konas. I just think these graphics and these kind of two-tone paint jobs were just the absolute coolest. Now, you might be wondering, okay, well, why have you stripped this down to a bare frame? But there is plans for this one in the future. But I bought this having driven the entire way across the city and thought I was going to go see a different bike, and then it turned out to be this one, and I was just like, screw it, I'm buying it, I'm bringing it home. It was a lot of fun. It had the forks off the Orange 5 and all the kit there. I won't go through that again, but yeah, got some plans for this one coming up now. I believe this is 2006, but I could be wrong, so apologies if I'm off base, but we'll chuck it back on the wall and we'll get down the reason as to why. Well, it's on the wall, but I think, yeah, I don't want to give away too much, but there's a plan for this one. Right, next. You know what they say, you should always match your bike to your garage floor, and that's exactly what I've done with this 2007, I believe, Kona Kula Primo. This is the same as that Kula there, albeit 1 year newer, I think, but critically, it is the Easton Ultralight frame. So you can see it has all these beautiful embossments, and yeah, it is a lovely cross-country kind of trail bike. It's not too racy, so it's very, very usable, but it has some lovely bits like race face polished cranks. It's got an XT group set, it's got FSA wheels. I've just thrown on a carbon seat post, and I've thrown on some new bars. It had race face bars that someone horrifically chopped down. XT brakes, XT shifters, all lovely, all XT. It's got a pair of Reba race forks, which are a little bit too springy currently, but I've actually not ridden this bike much. In fact, I've ridden it an embarrassingly small amount, and that's going to change real soon because it's just lovely, and I just always wanted a Kona like this, and I think I got a little bit overwhelmed that I then got one and I didn't know what to do with myself. So don't have a huge amount to say about it because not done a lot with it, but I will do, and then I'll have more to say. So until then, we'll move on to the next bike. Next. So this next bike is something really weird. I think there's no way of really preambling it, but we'll just get straight into it. Boom. So this is my mini velo. I built this in 2022. It is a Java, or is it a Java? Because I got it off AliExpress, and as much and all the frame is beautiful and all came really well packaged, it's really hard to find out information about these, and they come under a couple of different names. I also ordered the fork with it, but this fork is branded Silver Rock, so you know, who knows. Right, mini velos. Here was my plan. I was being public enemy number one, trying to take a full-blown race bike on the train at rush hour, and I thought, you know what, I need a mini velo, but I didn't want just any mini velo. I wanted something a bit different, so I ordered this frame set. It is aluminium. It has about 14 coats of clear coat on it. I know it's really dirty right now, but when it's clean, it's like sparkling. It has a carbon fork, which, including the steerer, weighs a grand total of 245 grams because I weighed it. It runs 20-inch wheels, and what's really awkward is these are Light Pro wheels. You can see there's like a black on black graphic. These wheels are wicked. They are just so fast. Got tiny little hybrid hydraulic discs, so the same as you've seen on a couple of the other bikes to date, and it's got these absolutely minuscule and super lightweight tires, and again it runs the kind of Ride Now 16 gram tubes in it. But the rear wheel is probably where it gets more interesting because it's got about 1 million points of engagement on that hub. This thing is an early warning system for pedestrians when you ride through a city, because it is so loud that no one's eardrums are safe. So even though you have to use a bell in Australia, I don't need to, because no one can not hear you coming. All you have to do is stop pedaling, and straight away people start jumping out of the way. I love this bike because it's just so bloody fun. It rides on this outrageously large front ring. It is a 53 tooth, and then it runs out to an Acera 7-speed rear mech from back in the day. And yeah, carbon seat post, nice comfortable saddle, carbon, you know, steer spacers. It's got actually the old WTB bars and stem off that blue Kona. Either the Kona or the red Rockhopper, one or the other. Anyway, that's where it came from. It's got Avid levers, and it has an L2 A3 shifter. Now, you can look down your nose on L2 shifters, but that A3 shifter and that Acera rear mech on whatever cassette that is, and that 53 tooth ring is the crispest shifting, most reliable, just most, you know, plug and play system I have on any bike. It's just fantastic. You might be wondering, hey, it was such a huge ring, like how do you ride that? Well, the ring and the wheel size kind of correspond. So this is actually a much more modest sized ring if you were to scale up these wheels to 26, 29, etc. So it's not quite so outrageous to actually ride in reality. I must get this back out again because it's just so much fun. It's got these tiny little pedals to try and keep everything a slimline. This thing is super, super risky for pedal strikes. Look how close the derailleur hanger comes to striking the ground. And I've also put this teeny tiny little parcel rack on the front, which is completely useless, but you know, it's just there for vibes. Yeah, this thing is just, it's too much fun. It's super reliable. In fact, it's the most reliable bike I own. I think all told it cost me 900 Australian dollars to build, and pretty much everything bar the rear mech and I think that disc rotor I had to buy a new. So and the bars and stem. So yeah. Oh, and also it weighs 8 kilo. So yeah, pretty insignificant when you're throwing it around train stations. Okay, last and final bike. Okay, complete departure in theme and style for the last bike. It is my 2017 Merida Reacto carbon race bike. A lot of people look down their nose at Meridas. That just is testament to the snobbery in road cycling as well as mountain biking. But anyway, it is a fantastic bike. They are fantastic bikes. They're excellent value for money, and totally has me converted. This one has an Ultegra rear mech, Ultegra front mech, Ultegra shifters, FSA Gossamer crank, and Shimano SPDs. It is obviously full carbon seat post, carbon frame, carbon fork, carbon bars, carbon stem. Bars and stem are an AliExpress special. They are semi internally cable routed, but the semi bit is due to my inability to be patient enough to route them fully. Right, the thing about this bike that I especially love is, one, the colour scheme. I love the day glow and the kind of flattish silver. I hate the murdered out black bike trend thing. Bring back funky colour schemes is what I say. But the thing that makes me most proud about this bike is, hard to see in this light, but it has these Dura-Ace hubs on Pilar X Aero spokes and 50mm carbon unbranded rims, and these are the wheels I taught myself wheel building on. So during lockdown I bought these hubs on eBay. I got the spokes and the rims straight in from factory in China. These are Toray 700 carbon. They're 50mm in depth. They've got external nipples. They are tubeless ready. They have a basalt brake track. I spec them to my own specs. They are completely matte finish. They're just extremely dirty currently, and I taught myself how to build wheels during lockdown. I got out Sheldon Brown and I got out some YouTube videos, and I did it. Thousands of kilometers, still in true, zero issues. But the thing that really makes me so happy with these wheels is there's nothing quite like pulling up outside a coffee shop in high society Sydney, and firstly you got a Merida, and that just annoys them to begin with, but then when they come up and they see Dura-Ace hubs and then they can't figure out what else is going on here in the rim and spoke department, you want to see their blood pressure rise in front of your face, and they never ask a question, because that would be to shatter their own dystopian reality about what bikes should be. But anytime they do spark up conversation and I just say, oh yeah, I built them myself, and they go, oh yeah, did you get them built by XYZ person? I go, no, I built them myself. And that really pisses them off, which then gives me an incredible amount of joy. Anyway, yeah, like I said, Meridas, they get looked down on by high society cycling snobbery, but they are fantastic bikes. Yeah, and that rounds out the collection. So I'm looking forward to a lot more kind of projects. There's probably one or two I'll potentially sell, but to be honest with you, you haven't kind of maybe picked up on it. Like hoarding is a slight issue around here. So the likelihood is that this collection will only grow rather than get smaller, but we'll have some fun along the way. So stay tuned if you're into this sort of random stuff in the general loose bike theme. There's going to be some cool projects like that Sidekick, the Sidekick behind me, a couple of other things, some bike packing stuff. But yeah, stick around if you like this sort of thing, and if not, don't, I guess. All right, see ya.